Hi friends, Bet's Golden here. I'm coming at you today with a kind of a new technique on how to use these Distress Oxide inks that Tim Holtz came out with. I was really excited to get them. I ordered 8 of the 12 because those are the colors I knew I would use. And I did these cards according to the way as instructed by him on his YouTube videos and how-tos and how he did it at CHA this year. They're cute. I like how they turned out. However, I have a couple issues with them. This may not be everyone's issue. A lot of people love these inks. I prefer the Distress inks, but these have some fun benefits to them that the Distress inks don't have. However, with that all being said, for me, using these inks, number one, takes a long time. Number two, I use a lot of ink to achieve the look. Number three, my fingertips get extremely dry. And number four, the corners of the paper often are hard to get coverage on, and that kind of bothers me. So I've come up with a way in which to use the inks that give a similar appearance or outcome, just like these do, that is less time, uses less ink, covers the corners, and doesn't dry my fingertips out. So let me get started and show you how I do this. Now, if you haven't played with these inks, the first step I'm going to do may freak you out. You may think, oh my gosh, that's a ton of ink. But rest assured that when you do his technique, the way Tim Holtz does it, you will use 3 to 5 times more ink than what I'm using on this one card. So it does require a lot of ink. That's not a bad thing, but I just want to give you a heads up. Okay, so I'm going to make a card. We're going to do a card together. And the first thing I'm going to do is I picked up my 3 inks. I'm going to use Fossilized Amber, Spiced Marmalade, Fired Brick. And I'm just going to start off with the lightest, the Fossilized Amber, and I'm going to swipe it. You can do this any direction you want. For this particular look, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to swipe it, making sure that I do go off of my card a little bit, my card front a little bit, because I am going to use that ink a little bit later. Now, this is when you're going to be thinking, oh my God, this is a ton of ink. And it is, but I use more when I do it the other technique, the other way, his way. All right, next thing I'm going to do is Spiced Marmalade. Now, these will transfer onto the ink pads, so if you don't want the color of your ink to get on your ink pad, the other color, then just don't let them touch. However, it will not affect the ink pad. You'll still get the same outcome with the ink pad that has the other ink on it. So don't worry about that, okay? For me, I really don't care. And he did say that. He said that, you know, it will transfer, but it won't affect the outcome, the use, or ruin the use of your other inks, your ink pad, if that made any sense at all. So basically, what happens is if you get this ink on this pad or this ink on this pad, you'll see it on your pad, but when you do your next project, it's not going to transfer. It won't ruin anything. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so from here, as you can see, I have 3 different colors, and I'm going to spritz it down with the water. And I really did a good spritzing of it. And I'm just going to kind of let it move around a little bit. Gonna hold it up like that. And I'm just letting it move around. This really does move more so than the Distressing ink does. The Distress ink tends to hold its shape a little bit better, and this does not. And then I need to set this, so I need to take my heat gun to it and just get this first layer set. Okay, so it's important that it starts to get that chalky finish. Then from here, I'm going to wet the ink on my craft mat, and I am just going to go through and dab this on, like so. right. And heat set it. It's pretty good. This time I'm going to spray my card front. And I'm going to dab it on in there. Heat set it this time. All right, one more time. I'm just going to do a quick spray. It's getting a little dry. Slam it in there. Pull it up. All right, and on this one, I kind of want to get that edge right there. And I want to get that edge. And I think that that is all I'm going to do with this ink over here on this card. Okay, so this is what I have so far. I'm almost done, but not quite. I want to take a baby wipe because I want to clean up my mess. We all know I don't like a mess. All right, and then I'm going to take my Distress sprayer and I'm going to pull the trigger very slowly onto the card. And that is going to create droplets, which is what I want. I like that look. Then I'm going to take my handy little dirty baby wipe and just dab over the droplets. And I'm going to heat set it again. All right, so from here, I'm going to call this good on my background. I'm going to go ahead and work on my card. I'm going to set this aside just to make sure that it does set up. I'm not entirely certain that it is all dry. And before I stamp my image, I want to make sure that it is dry as to not affect the quality or clarity of my stamped image. And I'm going to grab my black ink pad, which is a Tim Holtz Distress Black Suit ink pad. You always want to make sure that you sign your cards. So let me go ahead and fold my card. I'm going to get my signature stamp. This is a Bombshell signature stamp. You can get handmade stamps at a multitude of places. Bombshell Stamps, I don't believe, is in business anymore, sadly. They were a fantastic little stamp company. So we're stamping the back. I'm just going to sign my name. All right, and then we're going to stamp the sentiment on the front. The sentiment stamp that I'm using is actually by Hampton Art, and it's the Laugh Out Loud. I got it on clearance for $5. It's the Laugh Out Loud series. These are some of the kooky stamp sets that come, the sentiments that come with it. My family is temperamental, half temper and half mental. Crazy is a relative term. My relatives are crazy. And then the sentiment I'm using today is remember as far as they know we are a nice, normal family. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this up with the black suit. I'm going to be stamping on a foam pad. You can do the fun foam that you find at craft stores. What this does is it allows your clear stamped images that are clean to get a better, a crisper image once you stamp. Sometimes if you don't have a foam pad down, half the stamp can be lifted or missing or just bubbles or whatnot. So that looks like that's pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead, and I'm left-handed. I have to turn everything on its side. And I'm gonna place that right there. Lift, there it is. Beautiful. Okay, now we're going to work on the front of the stamp, and I chose to use for this the new Tim Holtz Hipster set. I already have it out, the stamp I'm going to use. It's so much fun. For this, you don't actually need to use a foam pad. It's a deep impression, so you can just stamp it directly onto your image on a hard surface, calendar, wherever you're working. Again, I'm using that black suit, and I am going to add the word legit underneath this crazy cat. These are so funny, these little stamps. Like, when I saw this, I'm pretty picky about what I want to buy, but when I saw this, man, I knew I had to have this set. So silly. All right, so I inked that up pretty good. Just gonna take this, and I want it a little bit higher because I got to add the word under him. You could also use your stamp press on this too. There he is. I want to add the word legit. So I'm going to ink this up again with that same black soot. Soot, I'll probably say it wrong, right under him. Let me go ahead and just ink the edges of this. I did cut down my paper to fit on my card. So this has already been trimmed down. I took a measurement of the card, which was 4 by 5.5, and I just trimmed this down to 3.75 by 5.25. I just took off a 1/4 inch. And I think, no, I don't want to distress that. Okay, so I am going to be using on this, even though there is no chalk on the back, or there shouldn't be, but there is. And it does have a chalky texture, these oxidized inks do. I'm going to use glue dots just because they hold better than my tape runner, I think. So I'm just going to pull off 4 of these. And I'm going to just smash them on there. What I like about this type of card making is you can put it in the mail with just a regular stamp. It's not going to get damaged. And there is, you know, a lot of good texture on this. And so, or some, I shouldn't say texture, some good dimension because of the inks that is nice. So it's not like a boring card. When your recipient gets it, it looks like it's, you know, well thought out and took some time on it. Okay. We're just going to go ahead and line that up. And our card is done. So in 15 minutes, I made this card using the Ranger Distress Oxide by Tim Holtz ink. Normally, I've done those tags that I showed you at the beginning of this video, these right here. Each of these, the backgrounds took me about 30 minutes, and I still didn't get coverage like right there. And this is definitely a faster way, and you get real similar results, and you use less ink. I know that's hard to believe, but if you play with the Distress Oxide and do the way Tim Holtz tells you and then try this way, you're going to realize that you're actually swiping only once versus having to swipe 3 or 5 times. And he did it. I saw him do a coverage of only swiping the ink pads once on the craft mat, but I prefer a darker type coverage versus that kind of coverage. It was real light and the corners weren't all covered and whatnot. So I just like to be quick and efficient and, you know, not dry out my dear little fingertips. Oh, and the card front that I used is actually the Distress Mixed Media Heavy Stock by Tim Holtz. I'm going to give you a secret. For 20 pieces of this, I think it cost me $4.99 or $5.99. If you go over to the arts department in your craft store, you will see sketch pads and things that have mixed media on the front that are the same price, but you get 4 to 5 times as much as this. So I would head over there and do that next time. I didn't discover that little trick until I went into Michael's and saw basically the same thing over in the art section. And I've said it before, but a lot of times, you know, scrapbooking companies gets ideas from other companies, and the other companies do it for a lot less. So go check that out before you buy this. Go get yourself just a distressed mixed media art book or sketchbook or whatever it's called, and you'll save money and you'll get a lot more stuff and a lot more product. So anyway, that's my experience with these Tim Holtz Distress Oxide. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. You can also head over to my blog, scrappycafe.blogspot.com, and see some of the other things that I'm doing. I do step out tutorials there as well. And I'm on Instagram, and I post a lot of things over there. Like once a day I try to post something that I've done in my my craft room. And they don't make it to YouTube or to the blog, so they're on Instagram, and I am Scrappy Gal 75. So make sure you follow me, and I will follow you back. All right, please leave me some love, like this, share it, leave me a comment. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bye.